I almost died crossing London on a Lime bike this morning so that we could sit down with Laura Trott. She is our Shadow Secretary of State for Education, and over the last few months has been championing campaigns like mine to improve young people's digital well-being. My name is Lewis Swire. Let's do this.
We are failing this generation of young people, how they've been left to experience stuff no child should experience. And we need to do something about it. What's happened with social media and smartphones is an encapsulation of what has gone wrong. And I think if young people see that we care, that we've taken the time to understand their experience, that will be what will make a difference.
So Laura, tell me all about the incredible work that you've been doing campaigning for young people to be safer online.
Well, look, this is something I care passionately about because you can't go into any school without seeing the horrific effect that smartphones and social media are having on young people. And when you talk to young people about this, they just really want somebody to sort it out. I was expecting to go into schools and for students there to be rolling their eyes at me when I say you shouldn't be on social media anymore. But actually the overwhelming reaction has been one of relief when smartphones have been taken away. And they just talk to me all the time about the pressure they're under from social media. And we were talking before about the difference in what people see depending on their age. Because I think that often adults think that social media is harmless, right? They look at their content and they think, well, this is fine. But actually, if you talk to 16-year-old boys, like I did when I went up to Manchester to see the amazing work of the Manchester United Foundation, they were seeing violence every single day on their feeds. They were talking about their classmate who was stabbed outside of school, and they were seeing videos about it in a couple of minutes. After the murder of Charlie Kirk, I was in a school the next day and all of them had seen the footage of him being murdered. Right, this is just completely unacceptable. This should not be happening. There is content on social media that are things that literally no child should see. And I find it just completely appalling that we've abandoned the precautionary principle where it comes to social media and smartphones. We normally test whether things are safe for young people. We haven't done that with this. We've let them have access to porn, to violence, to drugs, all these things, and nobody's doing anything about it. And so I cannot let that stand. And there has been some incredible work by some brilliant campaigners in this space. And I just feel like we are going to make a difference because too many people care too much and have seen the impact that social media and smartphones are having on young people and are determined to make a change. And I am definitely one of them.
There's obviously the harmful content side, but it's also a matter of addictive design too. I mean, what can be done about that? It's quite difficult to legislate against.
Children shouldn't be on social media. They shouldn't be allowed on social media. They need to be taken off social media. Social media is not suitable for young people. Obviously, the Online Safety Act helps with some of the content, but not all of the content. It's just not a tool which is helpful for young people. They shouldn't be on it. End of. And then smartphones need to be out of the classroom. Children should not be allowed to touch them during the school day. They are distracting, they affect behaviour, they affect attainment. Every school that I've spoken to who've taken them out of school have seen a massive difference in their pupils. When I talk to students where this has happened, they are evangelical about the change. Right? This has to happen. We have to make this happen. Children off social media, smartphones out of the classroom. It would be revolutionary for our young people across the country. Things don't have to be this way. We can make a change. We will make a change.
I'm not sure the audience can actually see this, but there's a wonderful photo of, I think, is your primary school class?
Yeah, primary year 6.
Yeah, so what was young Laura like in school? And how has the education system changed since then?
I was just like so happy to be at school.
Yeah.
I love school. It was amazing. I had such my primary school was St Mary's. Well, it was a middle school because we were in Surrey, but it was just such a lovely, warm school. I had great friends. I just enjoyed it. It was fantastic. And I had a really great year 6 teacher called Mrs. Case.
Yeah.
And when I was first elected, she sent me an email saying congratulations and sent me my class photo, which is what I've got framed up there. And then it was International Thank a Teacher Day, so I had her in here, and it was the loveliest thing. It was honestly the loveliest thing. And then she watched Education Questions as well. So
No way.
Yeah, it was a really lovely thing for me.
That is really wholesome.
Yes.
That's really awesome. So what has driven you throughout your career most? Is it policy, people, or something more personal?
Making a difference to people has always been the thing that has driven me. From my upbringing, I know how public services really affect the lives of people. They touch some people's lives lightly, but others, they're a heavy part of it. The school that you go to, if you're from a disadvantaged background, can change your entire life and trajectory of where you're going. It really matters, and it matters that we get it right. If your school is good, if you are going down the road from a disadvantaged community, if your hospital treats you really well, if you've got a severe condition, like these are all things that completely change your life, and they really matter. And how they are structured makes a massive difference to how effective they are. And so it's a complicated thing when I talk about some public service reform and why it's important, but it comes down to the fact that for many people, the things that they touch of government are things that can determine the course of their life.
I speak to a lot of civil servants that feel quite disempowered in these large organizations. What is the status quo with our civil servants, and what does a better future look like?
I think there are some amazing... I was very lucky to work with a lot of civil servants throughout my political career. I was a special advisor, which is where you're working for a politician in government before I became an MP. And so I worked with civil servants across all the departments, and there are some absolutely amazing ones. Michael Gove gave a really good speech where he talked about the importance of a life of purpose, and actually being a civil servant, that is something that it can give you. Like all of us engaged in public life are so incredibly lucky because we have that purpose, and that is an incredible thing to be able to take with you to your day job. Now, of course, it matters that when you are in a department and when you're running a government, you give clear direction to your civil servants. They've got to know what you're there for, what you're trying to achieve, and what your motivations are. And if they know that, then it can become a very well-functioning department.
Well, you're talking about leadership there.
Yeah.
And you've got a photo up there of you at the Treasury and you're a special advisor. Was it under David Cameron?
Yeah, that's right.
So what was the hardest lesson that you learned about leadership?
Actually, about leadership, it wasn't one that was from there. It was actually right at the start of my career. As a management consultant, I was working at a DWP centre, and it was trying to translate a reform into the day-to-day. And nobody had thought about how it was actually going to work. Right? And for people who were working on the front line, actually how their lives would change, what they would do differently, how they would interact with customers at that point differently. And knowing that actually, to the point that I just made to you, you've got to tell people, you've got to take people with you, you've got to explain what you're doing and why. I mean, it's fundamental to politics, but it's also fundamental to leadership. People have to understand what your motivations are, and they have to understand what you're trying to do.
So you've worked in the public sector and the private sector. What are the big differences between them? And also, what does a day-to-day actually look like for someone in your role?
Well, I would say that I actually have learned a lot from being in business. I went as a management consultant straight out of university, and I learned a huge amount from that. But for me, politics has always been vocational. Like, it's always been what I've wanted to do. So whilst other jobs were interesting, I felt I gained a huge amount of skills, which I then took with me. At my heart, I'm happiest when I'm doing this. And because it has that purpose, I feel like I'm doing what I was meant to be doing.
And when things do get tough politically, what keeps you grounded?
I've got a completely separate life outside of politics. You know, I have friends who are not political. I'm very close to my family. You know, if this all went away tomorrow, I'd be okay. I'd be sad, but I'd be okay. And that support structure is really, really vital. I come from a really strong family who have always had my back, and I've got a very strong friendship group, and it enables you to be brave, to take difficult decisions, to withstand scrutiny in a way. It builds your resilience, I think. And that is why ultimately the heart of any, of my success is that.
Is it difficult to see yourself in the media? Like, what is it like? It must be so strange.
Well, being in the media is like a huge part of my role, right? Because
Right.
I have to enjoy it. Otherwise, you really shouldn't be doing this job. Talking to people, explaining what you're doing, why you're doing it, trying to get out there your message of what you're trying to achieve is absolutely right. It's the thing that I spoke to you about just now, right? Like you've got to explain and you have to convince. I like convincing. I like debating with people. I don't like it when people are just trying to catch you out or trying to embarrass you, because it doesn't really get anyone anywhere, and it makes you more defensive when you're doing it. But actually having a proper conversation with people, I love that.
And to debate, we require the skill of listening. Do you think we're losing the skill of listening in wider society?
Oh my God, it's so important that you are trying to convince and you're talking to people that don't necessarily agree with you, right? Because you're never going to win an argument unless you convince people that don't necessarily take your side. But also you have to be able to change your mind yourself and be willing to listen to other people. So and that's what's fun.
Yeah.
So it is really important, I think. And I think an undervalued bit of politics. You've got to try and convince people and try and change their mind.
And is there a moment from your career that you're most proud of?
I'm so proud of getting elected as an MP for Seven Nixon Swanee. I cannot tell you, in 2019, when I got the election results, I was overwhelmed with happiness and pride, because it's something that I have always wanted to do and I've achieved. And I just, like that, again, that's a bit of a job that I just really love. I get to represent an area that I grew up in. I get to help people there. I get to be engaged in the community, part of the community, trying to make it better every single day. I love that. Like I'm really, really proud of that. And I'm really, really proud of what I've achieved locally. You know, there's lots of stuff kind of nationally, but actually the key bit, which is me representing that area, I'm so proud of that.
When you were young, who were your role models? You're now in politics. You've had a really interesting journey.
My inspiration for going into politics is not what you'd normally expect, but it's actually John Major.
No way.
Because I went to state school, I was always interested in the community, helping people. I come from that type of family, people who always feel like they should be doing something that, you can't just...
Very purpose-driven.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just assume that everything around you will continue as it is. You've got to be an active participant in that. But I saw John Major and I really liked John Major. And I just thought John Major was a nice person. And it kind of joined the dots for me that actually somebody from my background could do these types of jobs.
What advice, just finally, would you give to a 16-year-old who's passionate about change but doesn't know where to start?
I think so. I would really emphasize that politics is actually very open to young people. It is so easy. Whenever I do kind of school visits and they're talking about how to get involved, I mean, it doesn't matter what party, like just join your local association, because they will have people that are going out doing things. There is generally a bunch of people, it's certainly true in my association, who are very like-minded, who want to get involved, who want to debate things, right? Like that is the thing that I think for me at my local level, the thing that the young people have found most interesting is actually being able to talk about things, being able to talk about issues, working out why things are the way they are and how we can change it. And that is just a wonderful thing. Every single job in this place is just on a jobs board, work for MP, right? It's all just there. That's how I got my first job here. I didn't know anyone. Like it wasn't like I was connected or anything. I literally just applied for a position on a portal and somebody got me, and look where it's taken me. Like being involved in these things is actually really straightforward. Anyone here can email their local MP. I'm sure they will give them work experience, right? Like it is something that is actually remarkably easy. And it's really important. I'm so glad we're doing this today.
Yeah.
To talk about it, right? Because I am passionate about politics. I'm passionate about the change that can be made, but you've got to get involved. You've got to vote for your voice to be heard. And also you've got to then get involved at whatever level that is, like whether it's volunteering, being part of a political party. You can be the part of your community that makes a change. There are lots of things that can be done and actually are done on a cross-party basis. One of the things that quite surprised me when I first became an MP was actually everybody gets on really.
Yeah.
Like they do.
So you can just go for a drink at the end of the day?
Totally. But I mean, I've got 3 young children. There's not much time for drinking, but it's, but there is, it is actually a lot friendlier than the kind of general perception is of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me.